All right, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is May Leung. I am a solutions consultant at Toolio. I joined the company 3 months ago. The bulk of my career was spent at Ralph Lauren and Kate Spade in merchandise planning. And today I am here and I'm excited to walk you through a very high level demo to give you a sense of Toolio's look and feel. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If I missed any, I'll be sure to follow up via email. So Toolio was founded in 2019 by two Stanford engineers who previously sold their first software to Walmart and led the engineering team there for 5 years. And Toolio's on a mission to transform the retail landscape. We tackle the challenges of outdated spreadsheets and the costs associated with extracting data from multiple sources that lead to suboptimal inventory levels. Toolio focuses on empowering retailers to make data-driven inventory decisions, aiming to simplify retail work, promoting efficiency and collaboration with an integrated approach to planning. Initially serving fast-growing DTC native brands, Toolio has expanded to over 100 brands, including traditional enterprise retailers, growing month over month as the fastest-growing tool in our category. And Toolio is made up of 3 integrated modules designed to optimize the merchandise planning and execution. The first module, merchandise planning, is a tops-down planning tool designed to create financial plans and ensure that inventory levels align with demand forecast. This module sets financial guardrails for planners, guiding them in sales forecasting, purchasing decisions, and gross margin expectations. Once these financial plans are established, planners can validate them with detailed demand forecasts from the assortment planning module. Here, users can manage in-season assortments while building pre-season assortments with a holistic view of the entire assortment from a sales, inventory, and receipt perspective, rolling up for comparison with plans they created back in merchandise planning. Finally, these assortments are seamlessly integrated with our allocation module, aligning product strategies with real-time trends at that store level, ensuring that inventory is optimally allocated to meet demand. Now we can jump into the tool. As you can see, Toolio is a web-based platform, which means that you can access it on any computer, whether it's a PC or a Mac, without needing to download anything. For example, my address is may.toolio.com. Yours would be yourbrand.toolio.com. Another great feature is the fact that all of your data is stored in the cloud. The cloud acts as a central hub for both actual and plan information. And by syncing your data to Toolio, you can access all of your critical details from sales to inventory right at your fingertips. And since it is cloud-based, it makes collaboration a breeze by providing that single platform for all of your planning activities. That means everyone involved has access to your latest plans and can contribute effectively, keeping everyone on the same page. We're going to begin today in the merch planning module. In MP, we have the ability to create financial targets for the organization in a simple, easy to use grid-like application. What we've tried is really take the best parts of Excel, including things like your ease of use, your copy and paste, your grid-like architecture, and use that in a much more robust planning framework. One of the nice things about the system is that you can aggregate on the fly. What that means is that you can easily look at your data from different dimensions. So for instance, if I wanted to look at my business from a division department class level, I have that pulled into this report. And I can simply click onto these carrots to drill in. If I wanted to remove my class information and instead pull in my channel view, and let's say I want to plan at that channel view at that top level, I can simply click out and reload to show that information. If I wanted to, this is reloaded to that. If I wanted to simply plan at only my web channel, I can also drill down to that view, simply like you would an Excel table or a pivot table. And this really gives me the capability to plan at any level of granularity. On the left side here, you will see our metrics. And these are pretty typical in terms of your merch financial planning metrics. You'll see your inventory metrics, your sales metrics, pricing, margin, receipts. And this is just a small subset of metrics that are available out of the box. Users can also define custom metrics, custom attributes, custom hierarchies. One of our value propositions here is that we allow for customization to meet your specific needs. In addition to each of these metrics, we have our variance. And so in this view, you'll see that we might have a planned version of a metric. We'll have an actual version, an actual LY, LLY. We have percent to totals here. We have builds down here and all sorts of different comparisons. And users are able to take these metrics that are important to them and combine them together to create a view and set that view as a default for themselves or for their teams. And this customization really allows users to focus on the most relevant insights for the business. In terms of what is outside of the box or out of the box, we have a couple of different views and reports. So everything here with a little lock to the side is being pushed to our customers by Toolio. These pre-built reports provide a quick and effective way to analyze a business performance across various workflows while leveraging industry best practices. I'm going to walk you through a couple of the reports that we have. So this is our top line product performance report showcasing a comparison of actuals to our plan and to LY. We have a top line product sell-through report. This is pretty much the same report as the previous. Instead, we're just showing sell-through as the KPI of inventory. And this just really highlights the fact that we can swap out variance and metrics based on how the business is used to reviewing the reports. We can also go into a fast turning categories report using filtering. So we can create exception reporting using filtering. And in this report, I'm looking to drill into my gross weeks of supply threshold to give me my fast turning categories. In my case, my men's polos, so that I can make sure I'm focusing on them as I'm getting ready to submit a PO. We can also have these reports sent to you automatically by setting a scheduled report delivery. A couple of other nice flexibility features in here is the ability to group data over time. So for instance, if I wanted to roll up to a quarterly level, I can do that. If I wanted to drill down to a weekly level or any combination of those. So in my case, I might want to keep it at that monthly view and I'll pull in year to date and click out to reload. Finally, we have the ability to look at the data in different timeframes. So we can pull in several years worth of data. In my specific instance, my environment, I have all the way back to 2020, and I have plans through 2027. I can look at it from a relative perspective. If I was curious, I could see the last 4 weeks and the next 26 weeks, or I can look at it from a custom relative time frame. I may want to look at last 26 weeks and the next 26 weeks in one view to get a more dynamic view of the trends and the changes over time. And we also have the concept of time frame, where it's flexible to each customer and can be set up in our settings page, whether a customer may prefer to look at fall winter 2024 combined, or may prefer to simply look at fall specifically. Now, all of this functionality is great, but ultimately we want the users to have a robust planning experience. And that really starts with the ability to create scenarios. Users can plan multiple scenarios simultaneously and compare scenarios side by side, making it easy to identify the strengths and weaknesses of each strategy across the various metrics. And as you can see here, I am comparing my new promo scenario to my master scenario, which is my working plan. So scenarios can be continuously updated with real-time data to ensure that your analysis reflects the actualized trends, or it can be locked as a snapshot for a future reference. So think, original plan, working plan, last forecast, etc. So I can I'm going to create a working plan, or I'm going to call it my webinar plan in here. And you can see now, this is the name of that new plan that I've just, the new scenario that I've just created. And in this plan, I can update my sales here to 3 million. And you can see that once I key that in, you'll see that it's going to affect the other metrics in here via these little blue carrots. So by updating my gross sales retail, you can see that my COGS and my gross unit sales have changed, as well as my next month's BOP. And this really illustrates that the metrics in the system have various different combinations of outputs. And all of our outputs are listed here in this output metrics menu. Users are able to set those outputs defined over here and can see the impact of that change before they make it. And so more specifically, in my case, I set up my gross sales AUC to impact my gross sales cost. The other option is for it to impact your gross sales units. Instead, I'm actually impacting my gross sales units when I touch my gross sales AIR. And so users can adjust these output settings based on their preferred logic. Ultimately, in merch planning, the most important thing is that going back to that single version of the truth, which is what we call our master plan. After working in your different scenarios, if the user is happy with the changes that they've made in those scenarios, they can merge. Merging a scenario is the process of pushing changes from one version of a plan to another, typically done to align to that single source of truth. And Toolio provides control over who has the rights to allow merging of plans to happen. But it really does let anyone, any user, to reference that point of view, that single source of truth at any point in time. And this is especially useful if you have a planner that's responsible for certain categories and need to roll up their plans to the master scenario to publish an executive roll-up. Another aspect of MP is that reconciliation function. And what that speaks to is for Toolio to provide a multi-plan. So what multi-plan does, it gives different perspectives of the organization the ability to reconcile together. So you may have a store plan, and you may be looking at your store openings and your closings and your remodels. And you may want to understand the impact that's going to have from a financial perspective. You may have a finance LRP view. There it is. And you may want to be planning your outer years in your finance LRP view. And what the reconciliation function provides is the ability to reconcile your plans from different perspectives to that single source of truth. Lastly, in MP, going to touch on our seeding functionality, which really gets us to that pre-season workflow. So this really allows us to seed plans based on actual or forecast data. So for instance, if I wanted to plan for 2025, and that would be my target plan year of 2025, I am in 2024, I would select my ACT plan, seeing that we are in halfway through the year. And I may use that 2024 ACT plan as a baseline for my 2025 planning. But I may say that in that baseline, I would want to grow my business in 2025 by 20%. So I can put in that little lift of 1.2 in here. And that will act as a starting point for my 2025 planning. Now, ultimately, when users have created this 2025 plan, it can serve as a starting point for their pre-season assortment planning. We can use our tops-down plans in merch planning as guardrails for the bottoms-up choice planning or item planning that is done in AP. So I am in my assortment plan here. So Toolio's assortment module offers a holistic view of your entire assortment. So you're able to manage your core products, your seasonal products, and your carryover products all in one place. The module is time-based, meaning both sales and inventory carry over from one period to another rather than having it be siloed into a particular season and then falling off of purview. So what you're looking at here is my 2024 in-season assortment. And the way we approach it in a new AP is that whatever time frame you select, it can show you all of the products that intersect with that time frame. When managing an in-season assortment, I do prefer that holistic view that includes my core, my seasonal newness, and my LY carryover. So in my world here, I have a bunch of my core products that launched in 2021 that I have in my 2024 assortment, obviously, and still, continuing to sell through 2025 is a plan. I have my fall winter 24 products that just launched. I have my SS24 assortment that is carrying over and is selling 26 weeks. And I also have a couple of stragglers from my 2023 assortment that I am selling down on. And so for my in-season 2024 strategy, the focus is really on exception management. I am addressing products that deviate from expected performance and making necessary adjustments to align with that open to buy. And how I do that is by drilling down and looking at my performance of my product. So if I were to click in to that detail for a core style of mine, I'm in my core sunglasses. I can drill into the detail, and this will provide me with a full item plan of the product into the future, where I can look at the performance of the product from an original plan perspective. And let me just move this little icon here, but I can look at my performance on an original plan perspective. This is how I planned to perform at the time of the buy. I can compare it to how we've actualized thus far, highlighting any gaps in performance. And moving into the future, the system can actually recommend a retrend of that plan based on how we've actualized. So the system generates a plan based on advanced analytics that's running in the background and being updated weekly as actuals come in. Our users typically find these retrends to be reliable, but ultimately we still have the control as users to make adjustments as needed. And these are recorded in the adjusted line. So as you can see in my example, I manually adjusted the last 4 weeks of the year because I know there's a marketing event. It's going to drive a spike that the system may not be aware of. And because this is a core product, as I mentioned, the system uses unconstrained demand and projects demand and the future receipts to support it. And now with this core product, I expect to continue to sell the same style in my 2025 timeframe as well. So in addition to the 2024 timeframe that I was just at, if I hop into 2025, you can see that the same style is there. And again, if I were to drill into the detailed view, I would see a complete picture of projected sales and receipts for my sunglasses for 2025, just as a starting point in my planning workflow. So zooming out just one click, this is my women's 2025 core view. I can see that my sales, based on this bottoms-up roll-up, is rolling to $12 million against my MP tops-down target of $14 million. Given this $2 million delta, I might consider shuffling my top-line plans. I might want to reallocate that $2 million gap to my seasonal line rather than to continue putting more pressure on my current core assortment as it stands. Now that core is set, let's talk about creating a seasonal assortment plan. I am in my seasonal assortment summary page. Just a minute ago, we were in my 2024 in-season assortment. I had used that view to forecast all of my products, which included core, carryover, and seasonal newness. And that holistic perspective is super valuable, both visually and financially, for understanding the impact of your assortment to your customers and to your bottom line. But the system is flexible. If your pre-seasonal workflow is like mine and it involves analyzing and assorting your core products on a more annual basis, obviously you are still running that monthly reforecasting, but let's say the assorting piece of the core ads and the core drops are done on an annual basis, and your seasonal products are analyzed and assorted on a quarterly basis, then creating an assortment for each seasonal drop can be easily achieved by creating a seasonal specific view. This really showcases the flexibility of the system so that you can actively plan specific segments of your business while always having the option to see the big picture. So since I'm building an assortment, the first concept I want to touch on is hindsighting. In Toolio, we provide you with the analysis to look at your products on how they performed historically. And it's an important analysis because it helps us to understand the relationship between our top performing products and our bottom performing products. Essentially mapping out that marginal return curve and identifying that long tail. The goal is to identify which products contributed significantly to the assortment and which products could potentially be cut. And we do this by reviewing your historical data and cleansing it for any anomalies that you would not want to use as a baseline. And so we cleanse our data for seasonalization, for participation, and other outliers here. In this hindsight table here, what this table is telling me is that I had 14 choices in my LY assortment, and it's cleansing two of those choices out. The analysis is showing me that those two choices contributed to less than 1% of my sales, but they made up 14% of my entire assortment. And this really highlights the inefficiency and the existence of that long tail in my assortment. We can also hop into our rationalization framework. And so here what it's telling me is that this year we are targeting to increase our revenue by 10%. And these numbers all align back to our merchandise plan. And based on the productivity curve that we just reviewed, the system is recommending that we can achieve our sales plan with fewer choices than last year, 10 to 12 choices, depending on your cluster. Okay. And while the system provides that quantitative recommendation, you always have the ability to adjust based on your own qualitative insights. So you can play with the depth and width here. So if I were to expand the width of my assortment, then my average productivity comes down. If I were to contract it, then I would need to buy deeper into those products. Lastly is this concept of seeding your choices. So if I feel comfortable with this rationalization analysis, I can right-click and seed my assortment directly from the screen. And by seeding my assortment, I can jump into my spring 2025 assortment and see that I have my placeholders from 1 to 14 that I had rationalized in the previous screen. It's just loading for me right now. But you see the placeholders 1 to 14 that are all ranked and graded. Now, there are also other ways of adding choices into your assortment. So a couple of ways to do this. You can open your compare mode, which allows you to view and analyze past performance, which can be sliced and diced in various ways. You can use the extend option to extend the life of this exact choice, including all of its attributes and its rate of sale. And what that really means is that we're looking at products from a previous season that performed well and potentially still have inventory, and extending the life of those products. We're making the decision to carry it forward into the next season. You might also want to repeat. Unlike extend, repeat does not maintain that continuous selling, but rather restarts the product's life cycle for the new season. And then lastly, in the compare mode, you have a placeholder with the same attributes using the like-for-like option. And this generates a new style while copying over a new style number, while copying over the same attributes from the product that you've selected from the history. So it'll copy over division, department, class, ticket. All of those forecasting inputs are going to be populated for you. And so overall, these actions create a link back between your new assortment to your history, and uses that as a basis for forecasting and building your line. Lastly, the simplest way is to right-click in your plan view, and you can add a new style. It's a blank style, and this method allows you to manually fill out all of your necessary information. Now, for all of these placeholders, I want to bring up the concept of the style bank. This allows users to start with this placeholder and then find their desired products from the PLM or ERP and simply drag and replace that placeholder within Toolio. Lastly, we have the user inputs for the item profile, which really consists of combinations of inputs that form the basis of generating a demand plan for each item. So using these inputs, you can forecast your sales, and then you can generate your receipts based on the current on hand or on order inventory. So looking at my spring 25 roll up with just kind of my placeholders in here, so very early in my preseason planning process, I see that I'm at a good spot. I'm rolling up 2% in sales plan and 4% in receipts plan, and I'm pretty happy with this thus far. Eventually, I will replace these placeholders with actual choices. And at that point, I'm ready to generate a recommended purchase order for those choices. And the system will use the receipt plans as a basis for finalizing that purchase order. Now, the system always calculates from an ideal perspective. This means it takes into account expected sales, order cycles, product lead times, and desired safety stock levels. In reality, though, you might want to adjust these ideal receipts. For instance, you might need to buy the entire season's inventory to meet a minimum order quantity. And this is where the recommended purchase order functionality comes in. The system will then break down the ideal units and incorporate any constraints like those size or color minimums. And so in my example here, while my ideal receipts for this style, for the SKU actually, so my wool coat in size extra small, the ideal units are 3,247, but based on those restraints, I may need to be purchasing 4,050 units instead. Now, I have the option to go ahead and adjust it. I may change this to 3,500 units if I was able to reach out to the vendor and secure potentially a favor, and I no longer need to commit to the full 4,000 units. So you can do that, and you can make your adjustments here accordingly, and then proceed to that approval process. Okay. And now I know we are at time, so I'm going to just quickly touch on the very last aspect of our module, our allocation module, just to round it out. So we're now transitioning to executing the assortment plan. So basically the key decisions from our assortment planning, such as product selection, eligibility, and availability, inform the allocation process. Toolio's allocations begin with placing seasonal orders based on pre-season plans and then managing in-season replenishment. A significant feature of Toolio's allocation module is that fact that it's a demand-driven approach, which optimizes inventory allocation based on demand, ensuring stock levels are sufficient across locations. This method really anticipates future seasonal spikes and promotions with additional inventory ready in advance to maximize sales opportunities. So this integrated aspect of Toolio really lets users take their financial targets that they set in their merchandise plan and use them in assortment planning, roll up their assortment plans to match these financial targets, and then integrates the assortment plans into the allocation strategies and optimizing allocations for full price sell-throughs across the product's life cycle. We are at time. There are many more features of Toolio that I'd love to share with you at a later date. So I hope you reach out. Thanks for your time.